Please welcome Varma Kunaparaju.
Good afternoon. My name is Varma. I run Cloud Ops platform and software. With me today, I have Rajiv Bradwaz, who is Chief Product Officer for Cloud Ops. We have a special guest, Rob, CTO for Tottenham, to really speak about a real customer story on what and how you used virtualization and the transformation that he did with his things. Forgot to. Thank you. As you can imagine, as enterprises are going through the massive shift created from the virtualization demand, the old models are not working anymore. The modern operations look for being AI native, hybrid cloud, and the model of IT to act like a service provider to the businesses is what every enterprise is looking for, and that's what you will see. We will start with cloud, demands and AI needs, and how that really is taking shape in terms of the virtualization. You will hear the roadmap and some of the capabilities that we released in the virtualization, and followed by that, we will do a customer interview. Quick thing, forward-looking statements, product roadmap features are here under NDA. Would appreciate if we can keep it. Agenda is very simple. The problem, the destination, the answer, migration, resilience, and networking that is needed, unified cloud operations at scale, what it would look like, customer story, and let's start with the problem. There are 4 different forces that are all converging together today. One, the big elephant in the room, licensing. With the change in ownership on the virtualization vendor of de facto leadership in the market, everyone noticed what the costs are. Sometimes 2 to 5 times overnight, and that's one piece of the pressure. The second piece of the pressure is every IT organization is being asked by the business units on how their applications are going to be AI enabled. It's a real demand on every business application, and IT is really facing the AI pressure more than ever before. Some of them are GPU heavy, some of them are distributed, and the needs are urgent. Supply volatility, particularly around component shortage, is making memory, compute, GPUs, all of them to be highly efficiently operated. So operational efficiency on the existing infrastructure is more in demand than ever before. Operational complexity, there are a lot of tools in the enterprise, fragmented, too many silos. Cloud is operated in one way, on-prem is operated in another way. Those command centers needs to come and converge. These are all real problems that every enterprise IT is facing. What is needed, and everyone is looking for, is an operating model where the infrastructure can be any place, from a stadium, like our customer here, Rob is going to speak through, from an edge location, if it is a retail, all the way to a public cloud. And runtime is of choices. Enterprises have multiple runtimes today. When I say runtime, virtualization, containers, bare metal, all of them. And then the workloads, which are the ultimate business services that the enterprise IT is giving to the business units, have all kinds of AI-enabled analytics, and these applications are more agentic than ever before in the coming quarters. All of that needs to work together, and according to Gartner, 90% of the enterprises will move towards a hybrid cloud model. So because of the data gravity and AI demands, it is becoming more hybrid than ever before. Let's go take a look at the new way moving forward. The bottom of the stack there is virtualization and how virtualization is enabling a private cloud model. We have capabilities that enterprises are looking for, choice of runtime. Even though it's a virtualization demand, they are using this as a trigger for making their infrastructure and their runtime modernized and get ready for AI native workloads. So then we have VM Essentials, an advanced version in the form of giving a full-blown orchestration and automation platform that is needed. So this orchestration and automation is critical because when you have a choice of runtime, you have to operate multiple runtimes in the on-prem, then you also need to provision and orchestrate to public clouds. So you need one control plane for provisioning and orchestration. When you go on the vector to the right, you have full-blown cloud ops. This is where we are bringing what you heard in the morning, Fidelma's keynote, is the ability to bring the runtime, choice of runtime, provisioning and orchestration across the multi-vendor, multi-cloud estates, and then observability across multi-vendor, multi-cloud estates, and protecting all of that applications to give resilience. That is in the form of the unified cloud operating model, where we are bringing cloud ops, pulling all of those, the runtime, VM Essentials, the Morpheus, and OpsRamp and Zerto coming together. This ultimately will give the choice of runtime, choice of workloads, choice of running those workloads, and then controlling the cost and giving an ability for an enterprise to really act like a service provider to the lines of business. With this, I would like to hand over to Rajiv to walk through the innovations that we did in the last 4 or 5 quarters. Incredible amount of innovations that we did across the cloud ops. Welcome, Rajiv, to kind of take over. Oh, thank you.
Thank you, Varma. Hello. Varma talked about our shift towards agentic enterprise. Fidelma did the keynote where she laid out the foundation in terms of how we get to agentic enterprise. And she made a very strong case for having a cloud operating model, which is about virtualization, Kubernetes, automation, orchestration, observability, and data protection. In this session, we'll talk about the virtualization layer, which is our HPE VME hypervisor. We also call it VME. We also call it hypervisor, so we'll talk about the word interchangeably. It has been 6 quarters since we made the first release of our hypervisor, VME hypervisor. And we've been extremely busy over the last 6 quarters. What I want to do is share in terms of where we are and what have we invested in our platforms. So let's get right into it. Shout out to all the customers and the partners. We have 2,000 customers, 500 plus partners, and most important, we have 1 million plus cores. It is all in less than 6 quarters. This is amazing execution, so thank you. One stat I didn't mention here is we have cloud physics, which helps our customers move from legacy virtualization to VME hypervisor. We actually are averaging 400 assessments a month. So many of our partners are doing that, and again, right, that's an impressive number. Also, you see a lot of customers. I really want to thank all these customers. You can see customers across all verticals. We have customers in financial services, healthcare, in manufacturing, pharmaceuticals, right? Across the board, we are seeing very good traction across our customer base. So let's now talk about the innovation. This slide is a report card, right? This is what we've been doing. This is what we've delivered. And many of these are based on your asks. These are, in the last 6 quarters, 15 software releases, right? 15 software releases in the last 6 quarters, so it demonstrates to you the level of innovation, the amount of innovation we are building. It starts with a proven KVM-based hypervisor, which is VME, and we are adding high availability. We are adding multi-vendor support, so the hypervisor, virtualization hypervisor works on all hardware. It could be HP hardware, it could be third-party hardware. It has a broad ecosystem, 90+ ISVs. We have migration built in, we have support for Veeam, support now for Zerto. So full-blown enterprise-class virtualization platform now available, and that's what we've been doing in the last 6 quarters. So when we talked about those capabilities, those features, so not only it's enterprise class in terms of capabilities, it is also delivering on performance. We have very strong partnership with Intel and AMD, and we have optimized VME to deliver near bare metal performance. So when we talk about bare metal performance, it's less than 1% performance hit versus bare metal. So helping you with enterprise capabilities, helping with performance, but what about price? Now, there is what we call is the infrastructure squeeze, a double squeeze is what we call. On one side, you see the hardware prices are going up. At the same time, you're seeing the price of virtualization going up. All that is creating a squeeze. So let's put this into perspective. Till about 2024, it used to be you would buy a server, and the cost of your software would be about 20%, give or take. Right? So 20% every year you paid for your software, and that was the operating model, and you built your businesses based on this. Your mission-critical workloads run on this. Used to run on this. Then, here we are in 2026. What has happened? 2 things have changed. Because of commodity shortages, the cost of the hardware has gone up. But most important is the cost of virtualization software has gone up significantly. You take a standard server, a 48-core server, software by the legacy virtualization software vendor, it's priced on a per-core basis. If you do the math, list price is about $20,000. In many cases, it's more expensive than the server, right? So something has to give. And that's the problem we are trying to solve with VME, is we are helping you lower the total cost of your solution by delivering VME not only on price, not only on performance, features, but also on price, right? It delivers 90% cost saving for you. It saves you budget now. You can take this budget and redeploy this budget on your critical projects. Fidelma kind of touched this, Morpheus 9. This is by far the most significant release in the Morpheus family in the last 6 quarters. Focus on, again, enterprise readiness, right? Security, high availability, software-defined networking, and of course, right, getting Kubernetes, the next level of support on Kubernetes. That's one level of innovation. And then what we're also doing is enabling Morpheus Central. Morpheus Central gives you multi-site visibility, multi-instant visibility across multiple environments. And then one that I'm personally very excited about is the orchestration copilot, where we move to an agentic world. So these are major innovations that we are bringing, and let's dive into each one of those. The first one is migration. I mean, based on your feedback, and this is something we hear consistently from all of you, is make migration easy and give us one set of tools. So here we are. From our perspective at HPE, there are really 2 tools in your portfolio. One is the native migration tool built into Morpheus. It gives you bulk migration. It's integrated into your day-to-day management platform. And then we just introduced Zerto. Zerto gives you near online migration capability. It can re-IP, and also, you don't have to re-IP actually, and also you can deploy the same platform for disaster recovery. So you bring in Zerto for migration, and you can deploy it for DR, and gives you near online migration capability. One thing I want to highlight is there's an active promotion right now. When you buy VME licenses, along with a VME license, you get a license to migrate. You get 25 worth VMs you can migrate using Zerto. So you buy a VME license, you can use Zerto license to do the migration from your legacy VMware environment to VME. Great promotion here. Let's do this, right? So let's quickly walk through and show you how easy it is to integrate Zerto into your environment and show you how we can migrate workloads. So let's roll the video, please.
Many organizations are under pressure from rising virtualization costs and increasing platform lock-in. The technical process of moving workloads is often the easy part. The real challenge is confidence. Business-critical applications support revenue, operations, and customer experiences. Teams need to know that applications will perform as expected in a new environment before they commit to a migration. The question isn't simply how to move, it's how to move with confidence. HPE Zerto software helps organizations transition workloads to HPE Morpheus software while reducing risk, minimizing downtime, and maintaining business continuity throughout the move. Modernization projects often create a difficult choice: move quickly or move safely. Zerto helps eliminate that trade-off. Workloads can be continuously replicated from VMware ESXi into HPE Morpheus software and migrated into the HVM hypervisor, allowing organizations to prepare and validate migrations while production systems continue running. Confidence comes from verification. Before committing the migration, teams can validate that applications are operating correctly in the target environment and confirm that services come online as expected. Instead of relying on assumptions, organizations gain evidence that the workload is ready before production traffic is impacted. Migration is only part of the journey. Once workloads are running on HPE Morpheus software, Zerto continues to provide continuous data protection and recovery capabilities, helping ensure that resilience remains in place long after the migration is complete. The result is not simply a successful migration, but a more resilient operating environment. Moving away from VMware shouldn't require organizations to choose between modernization and business continuity. HPE Zerto software enables customers to migrate to HPE Morpheus software with less risk and minimal disruption, so they can modernize at their own pace while remaining protected, resilient, and ready for what's next.
So there you have it. That was Zerto used for migrating from VMware to VME with minimal downtime. And then once it's set up, you can use it for disaster recovery. Let's talk about next feature is the capability stretch cluster. This is extremely important for customers who want highly available infrastructure. It could be banking, it could be critical infrastructure company, it could be critical industry. You want active data centers. Capability we are adding is stretch cluster. Idea here is there is no downtime in your application. Application is continuously available. The site could go down, any component could go down. There is no impact to the application. Second benefit is even if a site goes down, because there is sync replication happening between the storage arrays, there is zero data loss. And finally, it simplifies the operations for you. You don't have to manage two separate infrastructures. One your primary data center, the other one is disaster recovery data center. One management interface managing both active data centers. Now, let's talk about SDN. This is, we've put significant effort to bring this capability into HVM. And the key use case here is, you can build server virtualization, but to get to a cloud, you really need software-defined networking. And the approach we've taken is integrated software-defined networking with the Morpheus automation orchestration plane. So when you as an admin are provisioning a workload, and this workload needs to be connected to some other workload, all you have to do is set up a virtual network. This is standards-based, VXLAN-based network. It's an overlay network. You can set the network up in software. You don't have to go work with your physical switch vendor to go configure VLANs. It all happens in software in Morpheus. Second thing is once these workloads are provisioned, our approach is by default, these workloads cannot talk to each other. So this is zero trust security. So if you're in healthcare, if you are in financial services, by default, these workloads are protected. Only by policy, you enable these workloads to talk to each other. Third benefit is, what we've also done is, all these virtual networks are great, but they have to run on something physical. So with Morpheus now, we have integrated Morpheus with Apstra, which is a Juniper network automation and provisioning tool. So if you have physical switches, could be Juniper switch, could be third-party switches, through Morpheus, when you're provisioning a workload, you can also one time say, hey, go provision and automate my network. Similarly, when the workloads leave the data center, you need connectivity to the world. So this is where we've done integration with Juniper SRX platform, virtual SRX platform, where you get capabilities like IPsec VPN, as an example, SSL VPNs. All those are services now you can get all orchestrated through Morpheus on the SDN stack. So let's roll the video. Let's quickly look at how easy and how simple it is to provision software-defined networking for the HPE hypervisor, and contrast this with what you have to do today with the legacy virtualization environments. Please roll the video.
As enterprises expand across hybrid environments, networking often becomes another source of complexity. Flat architectures, manual segmentation, and bolt-on security tools create gaps between policy and enforcement. As new tenants, workloads, and sites are added, operations become harder to standardize, govern, and scale. For many teams, zero trust remains an objective rather than an operational reality. HPE Morpheus Software takes a different approach. Software-defined networking is built into the platform, not added later. Overlay networking, on-demand routing, and zero-trust microsegmentation are delivered through a single control plane, governed by policy and enforced directly in the data path. Consider a tenant with 3 departments: engineering, finance, and marketing. Each has its own isolated virtual network provisioned directly from HPE Morpheus Software. These are overlay networks that span the compute fabric without depending on the underlying physical topology. A finance workload on one host can reach another on a different host while remaining in the same isolated network. The result is consistent layer 2 isolation per tenant, without VLAN sprawl. By default, those networks remain isolated. A workload on marketing has no path to finance. That is the secure starting point. When selective communication is needed, an operator provisions a virtual network router in HPE Morpheus Software and defines exactly which networks connect. Seconds later, the route is active, with no restart and no manual rework. Finance and marketing can communicate, while engineering remains isolated. Routing is open between marketing and finance, but we want zero-trust networking, which means permitting only approved application flows. The operator creates a security group and binds it to the SDN fabric, with no allow rules defined. Attached to Finance DB, it creates a firewall directly in the host vRouter. No VM agent, no traffic redirection, no central appliance. With no allow rules, traffic is denied by default. This creates a whitelist model. The team can then add precise layer 4 rules for the applications that should be able to communicate. In minutes, from one interface, an operator created tenant-isolated overlay networks, enabled selective routing without disruption, and enforced zero-trust microsegmentation at the workload level. That is software-defined networking built into HPE Morpheus Software. Policy-driven, operationally simple, and ready for production.
Yeah. So what you saw here is, with a few simple clicks in the Morpheus workflow, you are able to provision software-defined networking. You were able to get zero-trust security. It is unlike anything in the market today. It is integrated into your workflow provisioning versus setting up something separately, right? So this is something, very, very, I would say, transformative and helps you go from server virtualization to cloud fairly rapidly. Next thing we're going to talk about is ecosystem. Our guiding principle is very simple. Hypervisor touches everything. It touches hardware, it touches all the ISV applications, and everything in between. So our focus has been to continually expand our ecosystem. What you see on the left-hand side is we have, last time we were here almost a year ago, we had a very small number of hardware compatible list. And you see we've done significant expansion of all major servers, all major storage arrays, and also different types of guest OSs and databases. So you see a lot of effort we've put. And one thing we've done a little bit different is because there is a huge pressure on commodity prices, a lot of you want to sweat your assets. They're old servers sitting there. We have created a process. You can qualify them, self-certify them. You can submit it to us. We'll validate this, and we'll put it into our interop matrix, and we'll provide support for that, right? So again, helping you lower your cost by sweating your existing assets. Again, self-certification of your hardware. Similarly, when we look on the ISV side, we have 90+ integrations available to you out of the box, right? So you don't have to do custom tooling. It's available in the platform itself. And also what we're doing now is enabling self-service certification. And we've seen some very good traction here. If you have an ISV, if you have a custom application, you want it to be plugged into the Morpheus ecosystem, VME ecosystem, you do self-certification, you submit it to us, and we'll qualify, and we'll put it into our interop matrix. And also, we have high-touch support. So if you need help to get started, reach out to us. We'll help you get started, help you get these ISV applications qualified quickly. Next, let's pivot into our Morpheus product family. The Morpheus family, just to reset, we have, starting point is VM Essentials. This is a VME. This is the hypervisor on the left-hand side. And on the right-hand side is Morpheus Enterprise Software. Morpheus Enterprise Software includes the hypervisor, plus it's optimized for multi-cloud. You can manage, Red Hat, you can manage Nutanix, you can manage VMware, and you can manage multiple types of public clouds. Also, it has zero trust security, integrated, and all the integrations that you see, you get out of the box. So that is where we are. That is where we were today before this 9.0. And what we are announcing is a new version of Advanced, Morpheus Advanced. This is a version that's been optimized for private cloud. So you start with server virtualization, and you're managing your legacy VMware infrastructure. You bring in HVM. You can do automation, orchestration. You can do SDN, and also you can do Kubernetes. So a version of Morpheus, lower price version of Morpheus, optimized for private clouds. So that's a new addition to the Morpheus product family. And then also we announced as the Morpheus Central and Morpheus Copilot. So let's go into Morpheus Central. The problem we are trying to solve with Morpheus Central is a simple one. As your infrastructure gets bigger, you have multiple sites, multiple data centers, you move on to the edge, you have multiple instances of Morpheus, multiple appliances of Morpheus. Managing those appliances, the health of those appliances, the version of those appliances, the security becomes, cumbersome, right? If it's one, it's okay, but if you have to go to multiple sites, that is a big problem for you as a customer. So we want to solve that problem with Morpheus Central. It's a service that runs on GreenLake Cloud Platform. It's a SaaS service, runs on GreenLake Cloud Platform, and it delivers a few capabilities. First is, instead of going to multiple individual sites, you go to one central site. So centralized point of management with multi-site visibility. So you go to one place, you can see all the sites, and within each site, you can see all the clouds. Within each cloud, you can see all the clusters, and within each cluster, and there you can see the status of your appliances, the health of an appliance. You can also see all the licenses that you're using. Other key capability is around, deploying consistent configuration. So as an example, right, you have shared blueprints, images. You don't want to go to each appliance separately. You get errors, it becomes inconsistent. So you come to one central point of configuration and multi-site consistency. So that is another benefit of having one common policy across all appliances. And then one that I like the most is the ability to upgrade software remotely. Instead of going to all these different sites, you go to one place, trigger a software upgrade. And finally, so today everything is, this service is available in a SaaS, it's a GLCP SaaS service. As we go forward, shortly you will see we will also have an on-prem version of Morpheus Central, especially for sovereign disconnected environments. Let's talk about the next thing, which is, again, Fidelma kind of laid out a great vision on in terms of how, as a company, we're moving towards agentic enterprise. And from our perspective, what we're doing here is bringing to the market orchestration copilot, which is a capability of Morpheus. So the hybrid clouds today are getting very, very complex. The world now has multi-hypervisors. You have Kubernetes, you have bare metal, you have different types of public clouds. All of those have to be managed. That's a lot of complexity for you as a customer. Today, for you to keep up with that, you have to have Ansible scripts, you have to have PowerShell, you have to have Terraform. That's a lot of work, a lot of skills to maintain that. Our view is we have to bring the best of AI to solve the automation orchestration problem for you in this world of hybrid clouds that's rapidly changing. So we are bringing Morpheus Copilot, and what it does, it has a natural language interface. The way you're having a conversation, you have a conversation with this Morpheus Copilot. That's one. Second, we give you agentic capabilities. So, it'll be continuously reasoning, trying to do multiple steps for you in the background. So more than a chat, it's also agentic in terms of automation. Then we give you the flexibility to bring your own model or wire up an external model with Morpheus Copilot, right? So again, flexibility and choice. But the one that is most important is governance. When you have agentic, you want to make sure the right guardrails are there, role-based access controls are there, all the policy, whatever applies to a cloud admin persona, a cloud consumer persona should also apply for the Copilot and the agents, right? So that is what we're bringing, and this is transformative. This changes the game for a lot of our customers because they don't want to work on different types of PowerShell scripts, different types of Terraform, different endpoints have different set of capabilities. You have to maintain them. That is a lot of work for all of you, and we're simplifying that for you. So what does the simplification look like? Here is an example. Let's say you want to, this is a very, very simple example. Let's say you want to provision a workload. To provision a workload, you need an IP address. How does the journey start? You figure out the context for a VM. My workload has to reside in this part of the network. You figure out the network segment. Then you go to a central registry to figure out, hey, what IP address do I use? You get the IP address, verify it's not being used, then assign the IP address, and then you provision the workload. This is multi-step. Right? It's multi-step and it's error-prone versus you go to Copilot and say, hey, allocate an IP for me for this new VM on this, in this part of the infrastructure, right? In this case, example is prod-east, right? So what required? Multi-step, multi-workflows now with one command. The possibilities are endless, right? I can say, hey, go provision a web server with these attributes. Versus you have to go through scripts, write an Ansible script, Terraform script to do that. This is all automated for you, right? This is the power of agentic applied to Morpheus. So, let's roll the video and show you the power of what agentic Copilot looks like in the Morpheus world. Please roll the video.
Infrastructure teams have no shortage of data. The challenge is that the information they need is often trapped across dozens of tools, private clouds, public clouds, and operational silos. Every manual step creates frustration. Every handoff creates delay. What if you could interact with your infrastructure through a single governed operational layer? HPE Morpheus brings infrastructure knowledge, automation, and operational context together into a single conversational experience. Whether that's investigating appliance health, provisioning resources or managing network and security services, you can simply ask using natural language. And because Morpheus integrates with the AI tools you already use, you can still leverage all of the 1,100 tools available through Morpheus from your existing AI environments and workflows. And since every organization has different AI strategies, models, and tools, Morpheus was designed so you can pull in your own AI models, whether on-prem or cloud-based. You can also integrate with external MCP servers and the GreenLake Intelligence Agentic Mesh to pull data from other systems and securely exchange context to orchestrate actions into broader operational workflows. Morpheus brings infrastructure, automation, and AI workflows together through a single control plane, whether on-prem or in the cloud. AI is only valuable if it can drive meaningful outcomes. That's why AI in Morpheus extends beyond insights. It drives action. It streamlines operational tasks and workflows, dynamically identifying the tools, systems, and automations required to complete each task. Every action is subject to permissions, approvals, and governance controls defined by the organization. Operations execute faster and with higher accuracy. These AI-driven workflows can expand the reach of operations across a range of activities, such as patching and policy enforcement, cost analysis, and lifecycle management. It's true, infrastructure operations are becoming more complex. HPE Morpheus simplifies that complexity by bringing data, automation, and governance into a common operational AI framework. From conversational access to infrastructure knowledge, from model flexibility to governed operational actions, Morpheus can move you from tool-by-tool management into agentic infrastructure execution.
All right, thank you. So that was the Morpheus Copilot, and next now, this is the second last slide. Let's quickly talk about this. Is what we're also doing is bringing the CloudOps software also for our cloud service providers, CSPs. You know, CSPs are sophisticated users of technology. We are giving you, as a CSP, the flexibility to own and operate clouds built on CloudOps software. It's a full stack offering for you. You get the runtimes, the VMs, and the Kubernetes. You get automation, orchestration, observability, and also you get, by definition, both OpsRamp platform and Morpheus platforms are multi-tenant by design, so you get multi-tenant capability. And then, you know, as a CSP, you also want to deliver public cloud services to your tenants. Tenants should be able to have self-service capabilities. So self-service capabilities is one of the key attributes that we deliver to you as a CSP. And finally, there is the HPE Cloud Commit. So, you know, this is a commercial model. It's based on the fact to minimize the risk for you as you grow your business. These are attractive financial terms for you to buy CloudOps software and build your service provider business, right? Again, taking CloudOps software and helping you build dedicated private clouds or multi-tenant clouds to serve your customers. And this is the last slide. So we are not done, right? So as you can see, there is a ton of innovation still to happen, right? In the last 6 quarters, you see, we've come a long way delivering you an enterprise class virtualization solution, you know, that sits with Morpheus Enterprise, sits with OpsRamp and Zerto to enable you to deliver private clouds in your data center. So as you can see, you know, a lot of innovation still to go. Next time when we meet, you know, we'll demo these capabilities, and you know, we'll come back and report our scorecard. So with that, let me invite Varma back on the stage to have a conversation with the customer.
That's an amazing amount of innovations in a short period to accelerate the roadmap and deliver the virtualization journey, which started with VME, but broadly to Morpheus, rest of the capabilities in the form of Central and the Copilot capabilities of Morpheus. With that, it's best to kind of listen to a customer who put all of these innovations to a production use. I would like to invite Rob from Tottenham to come on the stage to kind of spend a few minutes on his journey. Thanks, Rob.
Thanks for having me.
Rob, you've been at Tottenham for almost a couple of years now. What an amazing stadium, what an amazing event, and an incredible amount of fans and fan experience that you fundamentally transformed there. Given your role and responsibility there, to start with, just talk through what the transformation is about, how you changed the fan experience, and how you leveraged the technology to transform that fan experience.
Yeah, thanks for having me. It's great to be here to talk about what we're doing with HPE. I think for us, I've been at the club now for a little bit under 2 years, and when I started, our stadium, which was built in 2019, was the most technologically advanced stadium in the world, and is still, in our opinion, I'm a little bit biased, the best stadium in the world. But the technology, as we know, moves very fast. And so the technology was 7 or 8 years old when I started the stadium. And what we know is that the demands from our fans continue to grow year on year. They want to do more things. We want to deliver more functionality to them. We want to have a better fan experience. And so as I started, our infrastructure was getting towards 7 or 8 years old. And we wanted to do a few things. We first of all wanted to make sure that we had the best-in-class technology to underpin the best fan experience. So as we were working in our partnership with HPE, we chose to refresh all of our infrastructure from sort of edge to cloud. So we replaced all of our access points, all of our distribution switches, all of our core switching, and all of our infrastructure. And as we did that, of course, we wanted to make sure that we took advantage of the best from an AI operations perspective. We wanted to make sure we were on the edge of that. And there's a few things that are great about that. One of those, as we've talked about today, is what we're doing with Morpheus and with VME, and to move our hypervisor platforms over to the latest platforms. Now, there's a couple of reasons for that, a few of which you talked at the start of your talk today about. One is cost. I think our cost for our hypervisor was going up about 5 or 6 times the cost. So we were seeing a significant increase in the cost of servicing there, which was very hard to deal with, I guess. But also from an AI operations perspective, we wanted to make sure that, because I have a very small team, we have a stadium that holds nearly 70,000 people. We have 50 or so events in any given year, plus events every day of the year. I have 5 people in my infrastructure and network team to look after that entire environment. And so building to be optimized for that type of capability means things like Morpheus and VME makes a lot of sense, because I can optimize our resources to deliver the best fan experiences and not have to worry about the delivery of the technology and how well it worked behind the scenes, because it just worked.
That's fantastic. You kind of said cost is a trigger, but you also, I understand, have multi-hypervisor, looked at multi-hyper flexibility, so that way you can do. Speak through that a little bit about how you used Morpheus to do multi-hypervisor, control plane there.
Yeah, well, we do have many different workloads for many different purposes. So we have assets in a variety of different places. We have a variety of different locations. So while the stadium, which you can see behind you there, is certainly a world-class facility, the small white building to the left of that is our small, I say small because it's small compared to the stadium, is our office. We have a training ground that's about 20 miles north of the stadium, and we have a retail warehouse as well, all of which had various different workloads. So we needed to manage all of those, and as I said, with a quite small team. And so we needed to make sure our operating model could support that, and the software that supported that operating model was there. And so Morpheus and VME just made a ton of sense. Yes, cost is a trigger. It's an important one, but the ability to more simply manage assets wherever they are, whatever they're doing, is actually really the main drive in terms of productivity savings for us. And as we loop that into the broader environment, when we're looking at Morpheus, OpsRamp, we're looking at obviously VME, Aruba Central as well. What we're trying to get to is a world where my team are much less focused on making sure things work and much more focused on the fan experience.
That's fantastic. One of the capabilities that you have asked us in the past is the stretch cluster. And I know Morpheus released a stretch cluster capability today with the Morpheus 9. Speak through us, on how you are planning to use in your particular use case for your stadium and fans.
Well, thank you for shipping version 9 is the first thing to say, because what I think, and it was spoken to earlier actually, is the growth of VME and Morpheus over the last 6 quarters has been tremendous. I mean, I think 6 quarters ago it was a good product, and it's become progressively better. And the rare software vendor who's been able to deliver things when they say they would deliver things. So credit to you and your team in terms of building out that functionality at a pace that is, it's actually hit when you said it would, which I never thought it would. So congratulations. Congratulations to the team. Yeah, congratulations to the team. VME 9 for us unlocks stretch clusters, and that's a really important use case for us. We run mission critical workloads, and some of those are things like life safety capabilities, whether they're emergency warning systems, whether they're IPTV, whether they're ticketing and gate entries. And we have an active data center environment at our stadium where, at least with our current workloads, they are running across both environments at the same time. And so having that capability in the hypervisor means that we can now move those workloads to VME and allow us to run across both of those production data centers at the same time. And what it does, I think, is close the last gap, in my view, for the very vast majority of customers who have critical workloads between using alternate hypervisors and moving to Morpheus VME. Is this that's the last of the killer apps. That's the last thing that there was a gap between probably your competing platforms, and Morpheus was that capability. And to see that come to life, and then with a future plan around how you continue to grow and improve that platform into the future, is really exciting as a customer, and we're early on that, but we're excited about some of the things. I love what you were talking about with the copilot ability to ask to establish a VM in a natural language sense without having to check whether an IP is available, or how to actually provision that. You can do that in a natural language way, which in a world where, even as a technologist myself from a background perspective, you always had to keep current. How do you do a thing? The technology platforms change, new software versions came out, and so you would make mistakes and break things because you weren't really sure how a thing might work or a change might happen. That visibility and transparency and the ability to do that in a natural language way and have that validated by the software unlocks a lot of speed for us. And I think from a technology perspective, the denominator is always speed, so the faster you can do things, the better.
I couldn't put it any better than what you did. Reliability is everything, right? In running a large stadium and a lot of fans. So in terms of your operations, I know you are thinking about full stack observability, potentially leveraging HPE OpsRamp. Tell me a little bit about what, for our customers and audience here, how you are planning to kind of improve your operational resiliency with full stack observability, and what your plans there are.
Well, the thing about our environment is, even though we have quite a small team and actually quite a small business, we're only about 900 employees in the business, but we have a huge brand, we have a huge stadium, and we have quite a lot of infrastructure for a business that's quite actually small. So, I have over 1,200 access points, I have 64 distribution rooms, I have 2 equipment rooms across at each of the sites, I have 8 equipment rooms. That is a lot of infrastructure to manage, monitor, maintain, secure, support. And so as we need to respond to our growing needs of our business with that small team, being able to leverage the types of visibility and observability that Morpheus and OpsRamp gives us means that we can not just identify problems quickly, we can solve them from an agentic AI perspective, so we can self-heal those things and solve those quickly. But also we can avoid those problems into the future because we can use some of that observability to find out what's going to happen before it happens, and therefore intervene and solve those problems. So it's really, really important to us to move from that kind of sense of we fix something when it breaks to we avoid it breaking in the first instance. And OpsRamp in particular, we think will give us that capability. And as we expand that into the network and the convergence of your applications comes into kind of one world, to do that across the Aruba platforms and into a compute and storage environment means that we can actually have a world where end to end we understand what's happening and we solve problems very quickly, which is incredibly important. I mean, my job things can't break, but of course they do. And so the time that they break between the time we know that they've broken and the time that we've resolved them is actually the metric on which I'm measured for. And minimizing that as close as possible to zero is what tools like OpsRamp, Morpheus, and Aruba Central give me now, particularly in the latest versions.
No, I think, you summarized it there very well, being able to kind of be reactive when you have to be reactive to a more proactive approach. And when you have to react, how fast you react, and if you cannot be proactive, right? So I think moving reactive to proactive by modernizing whatever you did, and then when you need to react to, how do you kind of very efficiently go to the root cause and deterministically solve the problem very quickly is very important.
Well, the last thing you want, and I think this is really important for technologists in the room, it's not a great look when the business is telling you that things are broken. I mean, the last thing you want is a phone call going, hey, the network's offline in site A, and your alerting has been telling you that for 20 minutes, 10 minutes, maybe 8 hours overnight. And so moving away from that model of waiting for the business to tell us that something is broken to proactively identifying the issue and preemptively, hopefully, solving that issue by deploying a change or solving an issue or recycling a port or whatever it is a real game changer. It's more than ever embarrassing now that the business calls you and says this thing is offline when we should and do have the telemetry to know that it is. And what I think we've evolved to now with the help of Agentic AI is not just, hey, it's not working, but here's why it's not working, and we can solve it without the input of a human, which is great in a world where my operations are 24/7, 365. So an issue could happen overnight and be resolved before a person even comes in or the business even notices. And that's something that IT has promised for a long time, but in my career, which is longer than I'd like to admit that it is, we haven't been able to do that.
I think, you said it very well, the first to know. When things don't work, the IT should be the first to know before the business comes to know. And that's a big SLA parameter that every enterprise is doing, full stack observability and instrumentation to get to know. So with all this modernization and intelligence foundation that you're putting, with using virtualization as a potential trigger, but you modernized the infrastructure, you modernized the operation stack with Morpheus, OpsRamp, and all of that. How is this received with your supporters and the business that is really running on top of this stadium? How has this been going on with respect to this modernization and the resulting outcomes that you are showing today?
Yeah, I think infrastructure is something that us as technologists are really interested in because it's something that underpins all of the things that we do. But my fans don't care about the network, they don't care about the storage, they don't care about the servers. It's sort of not really part of the things that you think about. You absorb the technology that you deliver on top of those things. So it's important plumbing, but it's plumbing nonetheless in terms of the capabilities that just need to be there and they need to operate at all times. What we know from our fans is that those expectations from an experience perspective have grown over the last 10 years. So if you go back 10 years and you go to a stadium, you were lucky to be able to get a text message. You certainly weren't using social media. You didn't think you were going to be able to send a photo out even. You were just happy if your phone worked, intermittently maybe, so you get a phone call from the babysitter if you needed it. That has changed now where our fans and our fan bases are expecting to be able to stream high quality video to social media from an event and feel like it will work consistently. So that expectation is much higher. But delivering that expectation to 65,000 people concurrently is really very difficult. It requires best-in-class technology. But I think what our fans expect is for technology to be seamless. They don't want it to take away from their match day experience, and they don't always think about what goes into making sure that it works for them from a day-to-day perspective. But with our partnership with HPE, everything from the second you arrive at the venue, when you go in through our ticket gates, when you use our retail food and beverage point of sale, when you use our digital wayfinding in our application to find our way to your seat, if you use our robotic fan cam to take a selfie of yourself while you're sitting in your seat, all of that requires the infrastructure and the technology to be in place at a speed that allows us to deliver those services. But the most important thing I think about is I know for certain that our fans and our business will want to do new things in the next 2 or 3 years. I don't know what they are. I'm not a genius, or I probably wouldn't be at work anymore. But if I could, what I think the biggest gift you can give as a technologist to any business is optionality. It's the ability to have an idea and execute on that idea really quickly without having to go back to your boss and say, yeah, that's a great idea, but it will take 6 months and cost $1 million because I need to upgrade the infrastructure or the Wi-Fi or whatever. And so what I feel really confident in with our partnership with HPE and what we've done from an infrastructure and network perspective is that no matter what my business comes to me to say that they would like to do, whatever our hirers come to us to say that they would like to do, we can do that really quickly without having to go back and re-architect our network or make changes or make huge investments to meet those needs. And that for me is a network and technology environment that is built to be world-class because it can respond to the needs without having to spend a whole lot of time thinking about how we do that.
That's fantastic. Last question. I know you involved HPE FS to make this project go. So speak to us a little bit about how HPE FS made this easier.
Yeah, we've got a great relationship with HPE Financial Services, and what we really are trying to do there is a few things. One of those is we are the Premier League's greenest club, and it's really important to us from a value perspective, like it's really important to HPE about making sure we protect the environment, and we have net zero by 2030. We've continued to invest in that, and we've been working with HPE Financial Services on the upcycling and recycling of the equipment that we have, both that we've replaced as part of this project, but also equipment that's been sitting around the stadium, if I'm honest, for 10 years. So we have 2 full rooms of technology equipment that we've accumulated over the years, and the HPE Financial Services team have taken all of that away and have monetized that and have used that and recycled that, which has helped us to meet some of our environmental and sustainability goals. That's really important. But then when you look at what we're doing from a Green Lake perspective and being one of the first stadiums in the world that operates on Green Lake, our ability to flex that technology up and down to acquire additional capability really quickly is something that's really important to us as a club, but it also talks to our partnership and that we can continue to evolve over the years rather than just this cycle of replacement that every 5 or 7 years, I need to go to the board, ask for a ton of money, do a whole lot of replacement. The flexibility we get with HPE FS is really important. And as I said, I say optionality is the number one thing that a CTO can give an organization, but I think financial flexibility is a close second. And so having that relationship with HPE FS has helped us do that as well.
Congratulations on your journey there and how you transformed there. Thank you for your partnership with HPE and your valuable learnings from what you did in your modernization journey is exceptionally useful for many of the customers in the world. So appreciate your time. Thanks.
Great. Thanks for having me.
Thank you, Rob. To wrap it up, I think, you heard from Rob and the team on how they did the journey, used the virtualization demand for modernizing as a trigger for looking at choice of runtimes and using Morpheus control plane to operate multiple runtimes across on-prem, private, and public cloud infrastructures. Then using that as a trigger to use the entire cloud ops software where we bring Morpheus OpsRamp Zerto to fully enable the enterprise's operations in a hybrid multi-vendor, multi-cloud environment to give IT to be the first to know, IT to be the service provider to make the business services. In the case of a stadium, it is fan experience. If it is in the case of a retailer, it is a store experience for a consumer. So that's what we are doing with HPE Cloud Ops Software. We are here to answer any additional questions. If you have time, please check the booth, see the live demo, and get to know the Morpheus OpsRamp Zerto together as a cloud ops software, what it can do to transform your enterprise to be the first to know, to be the modern enterprise for the AI and agentic era of applications and their demands on the infrastructure look like. Thank you.